All right, folks, it is Thursday, March 27th, 2025. Let's get into it, though. The market, like the song, what goes up must come down, what goes down must go up, apparently. So, market's up now. We were down early, gap fill, bounced off of that. Just another day in the wild markets that we have right now. So, let's just get into some charts, take a look at that, see where the markets are, and we'll come up with some ideas. If you guys have some things you want to go over, pop those into chat and let's take a look at those. Uh, and we'll see what we can get to. All right, we share. Let's jump in. Let's get going. All right, I hope you can see the screen. Let me jump off video. Try to monitor who's here and who's asking questions, if any. All right, let's take a look at ES here. We talked about this the other day, but if we take a look at the ES E-mini futures here on the weekly chart, certainly we can see we've had a pretty nice uptrend until this point in time. Now we have our first lower low. The question is, off of this, do we get a lower high and we start to reverse down, or do we consider this the low point hitting off the 50 and move higher? Either way, you're in a downtrend. But MACD trying to curl up a bit this week on the weekly. So MACD's trying to make a little bit of a reversal here. Oops, didn't mean to move that thing. Okay. So MACD trying to make the reversal here. RSI trying to turn itself up, and stochastic momentum giving to oversold levels. So all of those things positive for the markets on the 8-week, or on the weekly here, moving average. And let some more people in. If we look at the daily, we talked about this the other day, drawing the fibs from the previous high here back on February 19th, all the way to the lows on March 13th. Looking at those fibs, if it's a little hard to read because there's a bunch of stuff on here, trying to make it as clear as possible so that you can see it. But down to the bottom here, we just rode the Bollinger Band lower. So breaking the Bollinger Band while it's heading lower at a 45-degree angle, not really a big deal there. We don't get a lot of reversals when that Bollinger Bands are that steep, but super steep sell-off. Nice bounce here. We came all the way back to the 50 retracement 2 days ago, touched it again yesterday, and then just sold off. I've been calling it out a bit on this last couple days here. It just, you can see the volume just, just going down. So on this entire move higher, volume did nothing but drop. So we weren't getting a lot of volume on the follow through. Yesterday, pretty good volume day on the down day, getting a little bit of a bounce back today. Not massive, but a little bit. We'll bounce back, retracing not quite half of those steps, and then right back to the 21 EMA here on the daily. So we can dig in a little deeper and look at these things on a little different time frame. And in fact, too, we can look at the daily chart as well. I actually want to do this just so we can keep an eye up. So if we're looking at the daily chart here, I'm going to flick this over to 1 hour. Look at the hourly chart on things here. So if we look at the hourly chart, let's expand it up a bit and just see how we've been moving. Do we see any particular levels or anything? I think the only real pivot level we have is going to be in this range up here. But on the hourly chart, pretty good move today, halfway decent volume, moving up. Oh, there's a lot of junk in here to keep an eye on. So we're in this value area. I think we're going to have to get above these lines up in here on the hourly. Nothing really stands out except that this hour we just started, let's see where volume takes us in the second hour or so of trading that we have. But we are definitely moving a little bit higher on the session, starting to enter a squeeze. But if you're looking at the hourly chart here, and let's expand the MACD starting to curl up on the session today. I'm sorry, this is Tesla. I don't know why we're looking at Tesla. So, well, Tesla's going to make sense in a minute anyway because we're going to go through it. But let's get back to ES here. Yep, didn't pay attention to what I was looking at. So ES again, we're at the top of the Bollinger Band on the 1 hour chart. So top of the Bollinger Band in here. Uh, we've been moving up again. MACD has been moving up, getting stronger. We're going to watch what the volume does here overall. But we're in a squeeze with a little bit of a breakout to the upside today, but you're running into some resistance levels. And I think you've got to take a look at, I don't know if this is a perfect level or not, but you've definitely got some resistance ahead at a couple of these different levels. We'll draw a few of them in on here, mostly pivot levels. Uh, so a lot of overhead resistance around 57.95, 5,800. I don't know if that's a magnet or not for us here, but the hour chart's not really giving us a whole lot of anything to go off on when we're in here. And if we look at this gap fill, I usually like to use these for gaps. Okay, so here's our gap dating back to the 23rd that we had. So the gap on ES before this move up, you can see we came down, punctured that move at the open today or right before the open today. So pretty close to right on the dot. But we came down, filled that gap. Now we've bounced off, moving higher. That might be all we need. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on this thing on the hourly chart. We'll go back to days because you can't see as much of that on the daily chart. Okay, so there we are. But we hit that gap fill. So good opportunity. We'll watch and see what happens. MACD again been higher, and the squeeze has definitely reversed. So we've got a little bit of bullish momentum going on here. It's just that this volume has been just so anemic and poor. All right, there's ES. Let's get back to the weekly, and let's keep moving through a couple different charts. So what would we do on ES in here? I don't know. I think right now Strangles are still the play for me. I also like the at the money 112 trades or the Jade Lizard trades. I think any of those are all similar. I'm I don't want to have a lot of risk to the upside because I think we can still rally into this. I don't think there's anything bad. It's just technically we have to improve where we are. So we'll keep an eye on where things are right now. But Strangles, 112s, at the money 112s, Jade Lizards, any of those will work. You can trade about anything you want to right now on ES within reason. All right, if we look at oil here quickly, just taking a look at our key futures that we trade, oil out of this value range. So we'll take this thing off the screen now. We've broken this downtrend, so we really don't even need to watch that anymore. So now we're just watching pivot levels potentially in here. We've got a decent pivot level right around the 70.56 level. Volume, not great, not bad. We've just been moving up above the 50, near the top of the Bollinger Band. There's a lot of overhead resistance, I think, in this area. So let a few more people in. And I think on oil, I would be more more inclined to watch this thing continue to drop off. And here we still have lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high. As we came down here, lower low, lower high, lower low. Now you got a little bit of a higher high scenario. So you've got a higher low higher high in here. Is this a bit of a turn? Well, on the weekly, still a downtrend overall, but nice bullish trend. I think you could see oil potentially moving a bit higher. I'd still potentially look at strangling here, and I think just standard 112 trades on oil would be my uh, would be the way I would be leaning. So you still have trade opportunities. I think a 112 here, if we seem to top out at these Bollinger Bands, we're not overbought yet on any of the charts. So there can still be some more movement higher. You've got Bollinger Band, pivot level, anchored VWAP, 200, 3 ATR. And if we look at the chart here, if we look at the daily chart with the Keltner channels on it, let's get oil up on here. We looked at this the other day. Your Bollinger Bands, the 200 days are really, really wide, skewed to the upside. Uh, you're a little bit above the 21, but not a lot. You're only at the first Keltner uh, channel level here on the daily chart. So I don't, we'll see if we hold up here. If not, we've got resistance here and resistance here. 72 maybe being the high. So I think, again, setting some sort of strangles on here, not the worst thing. So looking at just a couple different time frames of things. Gold off to the races today. So gold had a bit of a pullback, and now it's roaring its way back higher. You've got Bollinger Band, 3 ATRs heading up in a good 45-degree angle. So there is definitely an opening of the volatility here. So I think we could still see some more of an increase. We do have a reverse or inverse Jade Lizard working on here. We're way up here at 33,000 on it. I really want these scale units here, but I can't really do much on it. We're still quite a ways away from those levels. I think we have a lot of resistance ahead of us. We'll see what happens, but we are very close, or we have set now, I believe, a new all-time high with today's move. So I think gold up 40 some odd points today. Looks like new all-time highs in gold, and getting overbought on pretty much the weekly and the daily. Doesn't mean it can't keep going up, but I think on gold, you really just want to keep an eye on reducing risk to the upside. Now, I did do an inverse Jade Lizard, eliminating any risk to the downside, but I think a standard Jade Lizard in gold here with no risk to the upside is a good play. We could even put something on kind of counter to what we already have. We're in good shape. I don't, not, we're down a bit, a couple $100, but I think that's fine. What we're looking at here on bonds, we did throw these fib levels on yesterday. So bonds still in a bit of a more recent downtrend on the weekly, even though we're off our lows, a bit of a downtrend, breaking that trend to the downside so it can remove these. Now we're at the anchored VWAP today. We held up it twice, and now we're breaking through that. Not great to see us breaking through the anchored VWAP and the bottom of the Bollinger Band. So on the move from the bottom to the top, we put the fib levels on here. We just are heading right to the 50% fib at 115. That'll be our kind of our line in the sand for now to see if that holds up. If that doesn't hold, then we could be looking at the 618 down here about 114. Again, not, most of our trades here, we have one strangle. We're down to 109, which is not even on this chart. It's way below here. So we're lots of levels to have to get through. I don't see bonds just completely tanking here and rates heading higher on it. But if I'm looking at the ZB, it's still a strangle opportunity in here. So I still would not hesitate to do a strangle on it. It doesn't set up well for many other types of trade strategies except for naked puts. So there we go on those. Copper, just off to the races. Just no trade for me here. If you want to do something like a Jade Lizard or a 112, so you don't have risk to the upside, I think that's fine. Definitely nothing else on copper. Really nothing else on silver as it uh, runs to the upside. On the Nasdaq, I think, are at a really good on NQ. I think you're at a good strangle level. Let's see. Somebody need to be muted, I think. Yep. So now, Mossy Paws, you are muted. All right. Nasdaq, you're strangling, it's a strangle level in here. Looking to try to reverse potentially off some lows. Volume hasn't been great on the move up, just like the S&P. I would just strangle it. I wouldn't do a whole lot of anything. You could potentially put on a Jade Lizard, maybe in the Nasdaq. I do want to talk about RTY today. So this one has also, run back up to the 21, but look how far. If you look at ES today, so if we look at ES, we are right at the 200 day and the 21. Everything's at the 21, but we're right at the 200 day. If we look at the Nasdaq, we just hit the 200 and failed at it yesterday. But if we look at the Russell, the 200 day is way up here. Get rid of this spot. Hang on. There you go. Just too much stuff on the screen. So you've got the 200. We're way below it when we've had a decent little bounce. I think this is setting up for a pretty nice run coming up soon. I don't think we're ready yet. What I'd like to see on the weekly, I think is setting up great in here. So for a longer term trade to the upside, I think you could put on a longer term, potentially like a credit spread down below the weekly 200 here, which is about 2018, 2000, somewhere around that level. Anything below there, I think might set up good. And I'm going to put RTY on here for a put credit spread. I think that's an opportunity. I also think that if you're watching the daily chart, we've had a nice move to the upside. I'd like to see the stochastic momentum come back down a bit more to make another move higher. MACD's starting to roll over. So I think you could be patient on this. If we get any more pullback, I think that's an opportunity in the Russell. I think you could even, not only put credit spread, you could also look at something like, a Jade Lizard. You could even look at a Strangle in here. I would just be more worried about the upside, although I don't know that it will rocket to the upside. So I think there's some opportunities here, in my opinion, to start to trade the Russell again, or RTY. All right, 6A, just a quick look. Sets up great for a Strangle here on both the weekly, getting close back to the 21 EMA, nice uptrend. We're still in this uptrend. Here we'll extend it out a bit. So we're in a nice uptrend here on the Aussie dollar. We're dead at the 50, dead at the 21 EMA, dead at the RSI middle. So I think 6A sets itself up for strangle. I feel like right now there's strangles everywhere. Sometimes you can't find a strangle anywhere. We're too directional. Right now, ES, oil, bonds, NQ, RTY, and 6A, all strangle opportunities. So I think you've got strangles in nearly every underlying except for gold. Strangles, I think, are a good opportunity. So I'm going to keep looking at adding strangles here and spreading them around. I don't have anything on NQ, RTY, or the Aussie dollar. So I might look at that since I've already got one strangle in oil. I've got a strangle in ES. I could potentially put another one on. We'll see. But I like my strangle in ES right now. It's still pretty young, so I really probably couldn't put anything on. Let's see, where is it now? If I'm looking for my strangle. Where did my strangle go? And since I can't seem to find it anywhere on my, oh, there it is. So it's down $100, but it's at the 85. So if I put another strangle on ES, I would be just tripping over something I already have. So I think there's a lot of potential strangle opportunities out there to put them on with that 90-day look to it. All right, there's most of the futures. I think there's a lot of plays that we could do if we look at a couple stocks just briefly in here. Amazon on this move down of the fib, we're just struggling with the 23 fib. We didn't even get to 38. So this thing really hasn't started to make a whole lot of gains. I think there's upside potential on Amazon here. I do like where Amazon is. I think this weekly chart looks excellent. MACD is starting to roll over and move higher. You're bouncing off the 50. You're right at the 200 here on the weekly. Okay, so I like what I'm seeing on the weekly. RSI had come down below the 50 and now starting to curl up. That could be also a really pretty good sign. We saw that happen back here as well, that when it comes down but doesn't get all the way to oversold and then starts to make that curl up, then you can see a pretty nice move. I'm not saying that this is going to happen again here, but I do like where Amazon is. Stochastic momentum oversold. I'm very bullish on Amazon. If you haven't uh, can't tell that from the fact that I did a synthetic stock on this the other day as well. I just want to let this thing percolate and uh, and keep moving. All right, quickly here, just looking at Meta. Doesn't look the same to me. The weekly is a little bit more bearish. We are trying to get a little bit of a bounce going in here, a little bit of a short term. I'm staying away from Meta anyway right now. Nvidia tailed off pretty good the last 2 days, trying to get back into positive territory on the day to day. We'd have to look at the hourly. So on Nvidia, so we're going to go to the daily chart in here. And then we're going to, let's get into the hourly to see if we can find anything interesting to hang our hat on NVIDIA in here. We have a gap which we filled. So we filled the gap here, which gives us, opportunity to now move higher. So the gap no longer from back here in March no longer needs to be filled. That thing was filled already. Okay. Yesterday. So that gap was filled from back here. I know it's a very small gap, but that gap was filled and can be acting as a decent little support level in here. Good candle off the bottom earlier today on good volume. If we're looking at MACD, starting to see that reverse. RSI, very oversold and starting to bounce. So I think you've got a little bit of an opportunity here on NVIDIA to, you know, to get a little bit of a reversal and start moving up. I think it's been beaten up quite a bit by news, and I still think this thing is worth uh, somewhere in the 80s, $90 range. So it's not far off from its intrinsic value. All right, Tesla, let's talk about on this. We have uh, well, now it's a put credit spread, or I'm sorry, a call debit spread on Tesla. We started out by just buying the long call at 290. That's worked out fantastic. But when it made a big move up, I sold the 300 in the same expiration, which gave me a overall credit for the trade on a 10 wide. So I got paid $1.65 for something that's a 10 wide. So if we can get to 300 on Tesla within the next week, we could potentially book the full 10 wide plus the 165 in credit we've already taken in. This is a short-term version of the free leap call spread. So it's a kind of the same principle that if you buy the call, which was slightly out of the money, and we'll go through this trade a bit. I think somebody wanted to look at this the other day, so I'm making a note, the free leap call. But the same thing works, and I know Igor has done these quite a bit in Active Trader and in IN previously, but where if you're buying a slightly out of the money call and the thing rockets up, then you can sell another slightly out of the money call for the exact same amount that you paid. I'm sorry, you buy the out of the money call. As it moves up, you sell another out of the money call, maybe 20% higher for the same price, and it turns it into a free debit call spread. Having that free spread, now you have no risk in the trade. If it falls down, you can't lose anything. And if it keeps moving higher and stays somewhere in that spread, you're by expiration, you're going to realize a huge rate of return since you have no cost basis in it. Well, that's what we did with Tesla here recently. So we've got that trade in Tesla going. I think Tesla is a great opportunity here, potentially to get long. We're already in it, so I don't need to add any more Tesla, but I'm liking what I see here. And we do have that Tesla trade on, which is up 340% as of right now, 342. So we're up well over 300% on this Tesla trade now in 2 days. Then that's despite in 2 days, despite a pretty good sell-off yesterday, but we've rebounded all of that today. Right, there we are. Oop, make sure. I know you can't see what I'm doing. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the man behind the curtain. All right, so there's Tesla. I don't want to spend any more time on anything in here. I think I think Google giving yourself an opportunity here too. It just can't get out of its own way. It's things just continuing to struggle in here. I like Google. I think it's fairly valued here. I think this is a good opportunity to get into Google, but I don't think the bottom is in quite yet. So we haven't really, I'm waiting till the weekly here starts to make the turn. All right. Let's keep going. Jeff, I'll answer. Let's get to that question in a moment. Oh, there's our zero DTE closing for a winner today. And then Apple, this is not the worst. I'm not a big fan of Apple like I used to be anymore. And if you're looking at the weeklies, we are still in, a downtrend on the weekly chart. I should have done it this way. So let me do it again and we can clean it up. I don't know if this is perfect, but so there we are on Apple. So you're still in a weekly, lower low, lower high, lower low as we move down. And you can actually probably take this thing and take a look at this channel on Apple as well. So let's create this channel. We'll tighten it up a bit, but you're at the bottom of this channel. We could be running to the top of this channel. It's not a bad time to get in, I think, on Apple. The downtrend's not over, but you're starting to see MACD reversing, RSI reversing, stochastic momentum getting a little overdone. Maybe not a bad spot on Apple to start to consider getting long on Apple. Again, not my favorite stock, but something to look at. All right, really quick. Palantir, just overvalued. Not doing anything till we come back down lower. We've got one leap on this thing. When it came down, we entered a leap down here that I put in down in around the 60 range or lower, and that thing is fine. All right, I'm going to skip. SoFi, again, not a bad spot. Pretty good gap down today. No real news. Insiders selling today. SoFi tanking down here. Intrinsic value on this thing's around 10, $11. I don't think it's a bad spot to look at SoFi, but obviously this chart does not look great. All right, Hood. We talked about this the other day. Someone in Lazy Trader chat brought up Hood as a poor man's covered call candidate. I think it was Hood, not Hims, but Hood. And the weekly, it's not bad. Bouncing off here. This is not a bad looking opportunity on the weekly. And this thing was in a bit of a cup and handle type move. So really big cup. Okay. And then a bit of the handle here. I think if we get above, kind of this line where we've been struggling at here, that this thing could really start to move. I'm going to pull this over here. Okay. We tried, failed, back down to the 21 uh, in here. I think there's definitely some support on this thing. Hopefully this is cool with you guys. We're just doing some of these charts and getting an idea, but uh, we'll see if this holds up down here and we get any kind of a bounce. If we can get over this line here, I think this thing has potential to really start to move. I don't mind it here. I think if you can get a good entry price on this thing, then a poor man's covered call may not be the worst. It's a pretty decent uh, company, and if we look at the financials briefly on this thing, I mean, look at revenue has been increasing, and look at earnings, just exploding to the upside on the last earnings that it had. So definitely getting earnings going, revenues increasing. I mean, uh, from a fundamental standpoint, I think Robinhood's not bad. All right, real quick, you wanted TSM. All right, taking a look at TSM. It's been struggling in here on this move down at the bottom of the Bollinger Band, but the Bollinger Band is dropping significantly. It's oversold on stochastic momentum, not quite on RSI. I don't know that the bottom is in on TSM here, but we're down at the previous lows. So I would be looking to see if we get any kind of support or bounce in here, but this thing does not look great right now. We have a leap on this. We're below our basis. What is my leap at on this thing? I mean, we're actually not down too bad. Our leap's at 150 and we're at 169 here. So we have a ways to go to get down a little further on it, but I don't love TSM here. I'm not really sure why it's not performing a little bit better than it is now, but uh, overall, there's where we are on TSM. Okay, let's keep rocking and rolling. And then AMD pulling back, semiconductors just getting spanked today. This thing's right back to this level that we struggled at before we gapped. Now we dropped back down to it today, maybe a little bit of a pullback. I think AMD is just in this nice bottoming process here. If you look at the weekly, I think this is a really good opportunity. So we're long and we're staying long on this, at least for the time being. We have leaps. They're down. We're writing covered calls against them right now. We'll see if this thing continues to recover, and we'll be making money while we recover. All right, let's get into the accounts and see what trades we can put on. Hopefully this format is good with you guys. Let me know if you don't like it, but typically I spend the first half of the meeting just going through charts, coming up with trade ideas. Then typically we'll jump into uh, the portfolio and we'll model out some potential trade ideas for you. This is just my daily practice of what we're doing. So hopefully this is a good way of going through things. Uh, Today we did a 0 DTE. I sold call spread for 60 and it just closed for 30. This thing took about 39 minutes to work, so that's fine. We'll take it and let's get into some trades. So we'll start off with oil since we've already got oil trades on. We'll look at our current trades and then we'll look to see what new opportunities. So in oil, we talked about we can either add a strangle or another 112 trade. I don't have the buying power to really add a trade in here today, but if you want me to model something, I can. But I think anything you want to do in here, I think you can still put strangles on. I'd probably even go right around this 55 level, up to somewhere around, IV is low, but it's okay. Up to 87. It's going to be a bit skewed. Yeah, here's Here's our strangle. It's a little bit skewed, but there's our strangle in oil. 640 bucks on 2300. That certainly fits our criteria for this. I've been also pasting these things in the Discord. I think you guys kind of like that as an opportunity. So I'll keep doing that in here. So I'm going to do Zoom trade ideas, and we're going to do the CL strangle. And I think this trade will pop it in the Discord. If you're interested in a trade on oil, this would be a potential strangle trade there. I think there's also opportunity for a 112 trade. I'd go out to about 60 days on those. We don't have a 60. We got a 50 or 49 and an 81. Let's look at a 49-day trade. See if we can make one work on a 112. I'm going to pick like this 59. Let's start there. And then let's do kind of a normal. We already have a similar trade on, so I'll put this on just to take a look at it. Okay, so here's that oil 112 trade. Does this trade make sense? So the first thing I do is try to throw the trade on. This is a narrow. This is only let's go a tad wider and make a bigger trap just for the heck of it on oil. Do we have a bias on oil up or down? I really don't. It's been on a tear to the upside, but it's running into some resistance levels here. So I certainly think, uh, down here, 65, we're putting this on at 59 on the chart. 65 is the lower part. So I think this is not bad. Do we make enough money? So we're in this for 49 days and you're getting $390 in the tail using 63.84, 6%. Perfect. So I think this is a great setup trade. If we come down here at all, we'll make some money. I like this trade. If I had some buying power, I think this would be a way I would be leaning right now. If you want to increase, this is kind of a standard 112. Let me grab this trade, pop it into here. CL 112. All right, so there's a CL 112 trade. You could also do more of an at the money and drag these up and go a little more narrow like that. So here's another trade. Let's even go a little higher. Let's go to, can we go to 60, well, 68 and a half, 68. Take a look at this one. So here's an at the money 112 on oil. If you have a little bit of a bearish downside, this thing still makes good money. So 410 bucks on 67.92, still making 6% in the tail, but your trap, it's a little smaller trap than the last one, but it's a really long trap. So you have a lot of opportunity to make some money on the downside. I like this trade as well. I think you could pick either one. So let's do a CL at the money 112 trade, not a 111. It's a 112 trade. Right. And then if you wanted to turn it into a 111 trade in here, it doesn't quite work out great with that. We'd have to move the strikes up. Probably, yeah, about 10 delta. Not great in the tail. You're making 170 bucks on about 3,700 in buying power. So it's like 4.6%. I don't think this is a great setup. I would stick with the at the money 112, not a 111 on it. You could also throw a J Lizard on in here. So while we're at it, let's put a Jade Lizard on, and let's use that same. We'll probably have to do 59, and then let's do something. It's probably not going to work great, but let's take a quick look. Okay. Here's this Jade Lizard. Yeah, it's not really working out. We have to come up even more. Can't really get a Jade Lizard on here. The width up here is just too wide for the credit we're going to take in. We'd have to really move this up to get that working. So Jade Lizard doesn't really work on oil at all in here. But I think you could add a strangle. We've got a strangle on. This thing's up great, 27, 28% now in 10 days. We talked about actually taking this off the other day, and oil kind of pulled back on us here. We're back to this 28% in 10 days. So would you take, the question for everybody here is, would you take a 28% profit in 10 days versus waiting, 30 days potentially to get to a 50% profit? Well, I think you probably would. And we talked about this the other day. We're getting to an area where pretty soon it won't be worth it, but I think 28% in 10 days. Now I tried to get out of this the other day. And you can see in here the trade is still on. So I was trying to get out at a 48-cent debit, and it's at 49 cents, and it's not closing. So I still have a close order in to get out of this trade, and we're not getting filled. I'm going to leave this trade working because if we can get this oil trade to come off today, we will put on one of the two trades that we just posted. All right, so hopefully that makes sense, but I'll take 28% in 10 days versus 50% in roughly 30 days on it. If I still get this 28%, even within 15 days, it still might be worth it. But I'm leaving this go. I just don't know why this thing can't fill. 48 cents, it's showing 49 cents, and I'm not getting filled. It's just one of those things where market's got to come to me here. I'm actually asking less than it's trading for. Or no, it's actually one more. They want me to go 49 cents. I'm sorry, I should say. If I get in at 49, let's put it on and we'll see what happens. I was at 48. I was holding out for 48. It went to 49 on it. I think if I get out of 49, I'm still going to make that. So let's leave it working. We'll see if we get filled today. We didn't get filled at the 48. All right, ES. Like I said, we can do just about anything you want in ES, depending on where you are. And I've only got about 5-10 minutes, so we're going to have to hurry a little bit on this. Probably pick the 85 strike. If I was doing a strangle here, I'd probably do like 4,900 and something up around 63.75. So this would be a potential strangle opportunity in ES right now. I think there's a lot of confusion in the markets. I think we could still go down. We could still go up a bit. The skew is to the downside, as you can see. So there's still more risk in this trade. So you're getting more space to the downside because of the put skew on it. But it's a nice trade. Gives us plenty of cash on it. If you even wanted to go up a tad higher on the upside, you could go up to like 6,400 even, and you'd still take in 1,600 on 5,500. That's a pretty good deal. 1,600 on 5,600 is 29%. So more than fits our criteria. So let's post this thing up. ES strangle. And so there's an ES strangle opportunity. We also talked about an at the money 112 or even a Jade Lizard. Now we do have, if we're looking at these things, we do have an at the money 111 working. This thing's up 50% in 7 days. So nothing to do there. And then we also have a Jade Lizard. That Jade Lizard's down 20%. But looking at this thing in the Analyze tab, It's down because of the curve and the fact that we've moved a little bit lower, but it's still sitting in pretty good shape, nicely setting in its trap. If we move up a little bit, we're going to start to generate more cash. So if we hold here and start to move up, this Jade Lizard will do really, really well. I think you could put on a new Jade Lizard. You could put on an at the money 112. Here's our at the money 111. I'm sorry, 111 trade. Don't want to close that. Now, so here's where we're sitting on this one, and you can see the T+0 line here, nicely positive. So we're making some nice cash. We're not at the full tail profit, but if we hang out in here, this is going to start lifting, and we'll get into this trap, or at least more than tail profit if we just stay in this area. So I love this trade. There's no reason to close it. You're in great shape. You could put a new one on if you wanted to, somewhere around that 60 days, 64 days. You could put another at the money. How wide was I using on that? 5? Yeah. Oh, no, 25. So I went actually 25 wide, which is all I get here. And then down, let's just look at that same. So all right, so this would be a at the money 111 trade. You're making roughly a little over 10% in the tail in 64 days. Totally fine. You could actually go a little bit more conservative if you wanted to, and probably even get this thing down to like the 50-50 left, the 5,000 level, giving you a little bit more safety on it. I'm still making not quite 10% now, but 575 on 62.87 in margin, 9% in 64 days. It's a great looking trade. So there would be an at the money 111. Again, hopefully this is helpful to you guys, giving you some trade ideas. Yes, at the money 111. Okay, so there's another trade opportunity for you there on how that would work. All right, let's see. And then I could do it. I'm not going to model Jade Lizard. You guys can do that one. Gold, nothing to do. This reverse Jade Lizard, it's fine. There's really nothing. Okay. It's like right in the middle of the trap. Yeah, it's towards the higher end, but we still have quite a ways to go, several hundred points more to go in this thing. Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, it'll work or it won't. We're at a lot of resistance levels there. And then ZB, we've got this strangle on. It's just down fractionally, but I think in ZB you could strangle something in here. And let's go model quickly something in RTY. And I think it might be early to do this yet, but we don't have as many strikes. It's not as liquid on it, but I think you could strangle RTY in here. I think you could put a Jade Lizard on, but you could also do a put credit spread, and I might even look at something, a put credit spread. When we looked at RTY on at least 60 days out is probably what I would want to do because of the weekly. So if I go to, let's go to 64 days out. Let's look at, we had support around 2,000. We're definitely going to be able to go lower than that. If we went to something around the 15 delta, we would take in $140 using 362 in margin. Okay. Max loss on this thing is 1,100 bucks on it. But we wouldn't let it get there, so we would stop this thing out at like a 2x loss or a 50% winner. It's not a bad looking trade. So I think this put credit spread is not a bad opportunity. You could be a little bit more aggressive. I think these are low. I think we could go a little bit higher. Maybe we're a little too conservative on this thing. Maybe something like this would be a little bit better of a trade. You get a little bit better risk reward on this, a 1 to 2 on the risk reward. So let's pop this thing out for everybody as well, too, if you want. Okay, so RTY put credit spread, I think is something interesting. And also, if you want to not use a stop loss on this thing, then we start to look at stuff around that 30 delta or so. And I don't know if this really sets up great for this or not. This is like a 1 to 3 risk reward ratio, doing it around 2000 here, and don't do anything. Just take the max loss of 910, which is like 1/3, a third of that, and you can let this thing go all the way to the mat, which is not the worst thing uh, either. So there's RTY. All right, there's a bunch of different things for you guys to take a look at. And then the last thing I want to cover, and I got to jump here, is if we want to do like a free leap spread, let's look at Amazon because it's my favorite thing right now. All right, so if I'm looking at Amazon, I'm bullish on Amazon. What I would do is I would go out a year or so, but the first thing you do is I look at the 30-day and I look at the expected move. So the expected move here is about 19. So about 19 points is the expected move 30 days out. So where would I hope we would go in 30 days is I hope Amazon goes up roughly 19 points. Let's just round it up to 20. Okay, we're at 2000, we're at 202. So I'm thinking Amazon can get to 220 in 30 days. If it moves higher, that's the expected move, if you're with me. All right, so I'm going to go out to a leap and I'm going to buy the 220, okay, which was the current price plus the 30-day expected move. I'm going to roughly go to this strike, and I would be buying this at $22. Okay? So I'd be spending 2,200 bucks to get into this trade. Most I can lose is 2,200 bucks. So I can buy this thing at 220. The goal here is if we move up 20 points in the next 4, 3, 2, 1 months, whatever, 1 month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, whatever it takes to get to 220. If we get to 220, at that point, I would then sell. Okay, you got to imagine that we're already at 220. I'd probably sell the 240. Okay. If we're at 220, going 20% higher would put us at 240, which should, again, it should be selling for around the same amount here, right? So 200 to 220 cost me 22. If we get to 220, if I was selling the 240, it should also cost me about $22. So I would sell that for 22 bucks. That would completely wipe out any buying power needed for this trade. It would be a totally free trade. And if before March 20th of next year, if we're at 240 or above, we're going to keep $20, okay, times 100 shares. Okay, so we're going to make, $2,000 on this particular trade with no buying power. So that's the plan. Is we'll take in if at expiration we're only at 230, okay, we're going to make $1,000. Okay, on no buying power. So as long as we're above 220 by this date, we're going to be making 100 times whatever the difference is in here. So this is a great way to make pretty good money if you're bullish long term and you want to get into something. You could also, in the meantime, you could be writing covered calls against these leaps as well. Now, I don't want to get assigned. I don't want to have problems, but I could be writing weekly or 30-day covered calls way out of the money, maybe even up at that 220 level here, taking in 120 bucks and just helping offset some of my cost by doing that. So there's an idea for you. All right. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up for you guys today. Lots of ideas. Hopefully this was helpful to you, and we'll see you guys in the Discord. See ya.